Welcome back. Green Line Breakdown, Episode 4. Not a fantastic week. How's everybody doing? What's up? Green Line Breakdown, Episode 4. Man, what are we doing? What are we doing? Not a great week. Not a great week. Have a little bit of a sports show outfit going on. Pats, Celtics. I had to include one team that's actually showing up to play. Shout out Drake May, MVP. I don't know what the Celtics are doing, that's for sure. They are giving me agita, or whatever you call it. Have a little bit of a different background for you guys. New edition, Larry Bird Wheaties box, signed Wheaties box. I moved Jason to the front because I feel like we're all missing his presence at the moment. I feel that we need to see a little more of him, and it's just energy needed. Because right now, every time I turn on the TV and watch this team play, I am severely disappointed. We cannot stabilize through an entire game. We cannot play an entire game at a consistent level for the life of us. For the life of us. I'm recording this on Sunday at 6 o'clock, right as we are about to tip off against Orlando for the second time this weekend. So I'll be giving you guys some updates during that if you didn't watch. I like to react live just to see what's going on. So where do we start? We start with the first game, Monday night, right? Against the Utah Jazz. Utah is a team that I think we should be showing up to beat. They are a team that we should be showing up to beat. We are around the same level as them. We match up pretty well against Utah, I actually think. Size-wise, there's nothing crazy about them. They have Kessler, and I love Kessler. But outside of that, I think we match up pretty evenly with that team. And if we're matching up even with the team, the more conditioned, the more tried and true team I think should win every time, which is obviously you. You're an NBA championship team. You still have a lot of pieces from that championship team on the starting lineup, on the bench, and you should get away with that. But you want to play this game where you do pretty well against them coming into the half, and you just want to blow chunk every time you hit the fourth quarter. Every single time you want to hit the fourth quarter, you go, what if we just start losing this game for the fun of it? Why do you do that? Why do you make me sick watching you? What is it about it? You like to see me in pain? Do you like to see everybody else in pain? Is that what it is, you sick bastards? I can't stand playing consistently and then shucking it towards the end. It makes me sick. The Jazz are coming to you. You're doing pretty decent the previous week, admittedly. Had some tough matchups and you got through them and didn't have a great game against Houston, but Houston's a good team, probably going to be 1 or 2 in the West. You got to build on it. And then you don't. You shoot horribly from the three. I think it was 20%. You took 50 shots. How are you shooting 20%, shooting 53 pointers? Jaylen Brown showed up. Jaylen Brown scored 36 points, right? He did a decent job. Where are the rest of you? What are you doing? I can't stand it. Against the Utah Jazz. 20%. You're up by 10 at halftime. You're playing them, albeit pretty decent. And then it just whittles away. Bang shot. And the biggest problem of this game is going to be the biggest problem across the season, which is you're going to get out-rebounded. You are dog shit at rebounding. Dog shit. And it's starting to get on my nerves because it's been a problem for the last 4 years when you were a good team. Joe Mazzulla, do you guys not rebound in practice? Is that not part of the warm-ups? Like, hey, miss this shot that you do 20% at a time, and then just don't go get the ball. I let the other team get the ball and see what happens. Come on, man. There's so many guys that we picked up between Boucher, Josh, the guys who were rebounding previously. Derek White was a good rebounder last year. Pritchard was even a solid rebounder. Brown, you need to get more involved. The biggest thing that Jason Tatum contributed to this game that he never gets credit for is his rebounding. He is always the highest rebounder on the team, average-wise. Averaged 10 last year, I think, a game. And most people took it as, oh, he's just going to get the ball and open rebounds. No. He is down in the paint going for those rebounds. And it is your biggest, and you were still bad, by the way. So I'm not even going to say, like, him being there, you were in a good spot. You worked. He was doing that, and you were still bad at rebounding. Can somebody else rebound? Anybody? Shooting was the biggest thing, though. I mean, you got out rebounded, but you know you're going to get out rebounded. You're not going to a 3-point shooting team this year. You need to start hitting shots in the paint. You need to start going for layups. You got to drive in the paint. I know you're a small team, but you're a tough team. You know, you got Minot. I keep getting his name wrong. Minot, tough player. Boucher, Kada. Where are you guys? But again, rebounding, you should be tougher in the paint. You shouldn't be taking those 3-pointers. Jalen was having a good swing of 3-point games, also went 0 for 9. And I'm not looking for Jalen Brown to be a substantial 3-point shooter. Jalen, if you're 0 for 4, I know you have that keep shooting mentality. Let it go. Let it go, man. I know dribbling inside you lose the ball, but stop doing it. You had 36 points and you went 0 for 9. It could have been 40 if you just decide, oh, instead of taking this 3, I'm going to drive and take a mid-range, which I'm very good at, by the way. So frustrating. Very frustrating, as you could. In the end game here, we're going to be talking about, it got close towards the end, 109, 107. Celtics have the ball, 106 maybe. Jalen Brown gets tripped. And I hate when players bitch about it at the end of games. I will give Jalen Brown credit. That was the most obscene non-call I've ever seen watching the game in the last 4 or 5 years. You as a ref are standing right on the end line, right there, right in front of those two guys. This isn't like a bump and he falls over. This isn't looking for a call. No. Jalen Brown is going north to the basket. This guy falls over on the ground first, and Jalen tumbles over his legs. It is quite obviously a trip. There was no other way to look at it. Everybody was saying the same thing. He is blatantly getting tripped, and the fact that they didn't call that is abysmal. But I'm not going to sit here and say that is the reason we lost the game. I'm not going to do that when you shot 20% from the 3-point and you couldn't rebound for your life, especially on the offensive side. You got to look at it as a whole picture and say we shouldn't have been in that situation from the beginning. You're up by 10. You continue being the same you are from the first quarter to the second quarter to the third to the fourth quarter, all the way through a linear line, but you couldn't do that. And it came down to the end, and you get screwed, but you weren't in a position to take a screwing. Anyway, and that happens, and we lose the game in terrible fashion. And that's one of those heartbreakers where it's like, come on, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't do anything to stop those guys. Laurie Markkinen, Kessler, Nurkic. Utah is a very white basketball team now that I think about those names, but interesting, very, very apt to the state they're in. We can't have any of those. If we're going to have games like that, we should tank. I said last week we shouldn't tank. If you're going to play like that against a team you should definitely beat, tank the season. Nobody wants to watch games like that. So that happened. And then you have the Wizards. You have the Wizards coming to play, and this is the worst of the league. Washington is the worst team. I look at them, and even Charlotte, I think, is something going for them. You got a bunch of rookies that are playing fairly good. A lot of UConn guys on that team. And the Hornets are so, they got LaMelo Ball. Like, I look at Charlotte, go, a couple of pieces here and there, and they're not going to be a good team, but they're going to be something to watch. The Wizards are just, God, nothing about them. Their jerseys are ugly. Washington, D.C. is such a weird city for sports, I think. The arena is empty always. This was a home game, but the arena is empty. You go down the way you did in the first quarter. Sad to watch, but it's the first quarter. You're sleeping through it. You're underselling your opponent. It happens. Star was having a good game. We weren't having shots drop. They had every one of their shots drop in that first quarter. And the one thing I saw out of this game that I liked is that first quarter happened, and then they looked past it, and then they just rode Washington the entire rest of the way. I had 36 points in 30 minutes. That's great. Pritchard showed up in the second quarter. That was great. We were rebounding. We were playing well. Josh, golly, what is his last name? I keep wanting to call him Minnow, even though in my head I know it's Josh Minot. Why not? He had 21 points. And that was a great coming out because I don't think anybody in the league was really looking at him the first 3 years in the Timberwolves. And now he made a role for himself this year. He's playing great. He's showing up to be substantial in the game, whether it's against the Wizards or whether against a really good team. He's showing up when they need him to add on to the points. Because right now, I do feel like Jaylen Brown is carrying a lot of the workload and nobody else is showing up. Pritchard is one of those guys that's showing up. Derek White, I don't know what's wrong with you. You need to figure it out. I need 30 points from you. I don't know what you're doing. You had it in you. I've seen you have a dog, the mentality. I've seen you just lock in and shot after shot after shot. Is this a thing where Tatum's not here and you rode off of Tatum a lot? And I'm not saying that to be negative, but they're, guys play off of each other and they're best friends. So if Tatum is playing off of Derek White, they make each other better. And then one's not there, it's the other one loses a step. Derek White, they're trusting you to be a second option. You need to be better. Some of these open shots that are just clanking are not fun to watch. We need to see better out of you. I need to see more. Disappointing to say the least throughout this week. But you did what you had to do against the Wizards. I saw it when I was watching it. It was kind of a full encapsulation of the team basketball that we've come to know. And I hope you do more of that. But to say some of the individuals that need to step up, Kata, I need a little more out of you. Derek White, obviously. Pritchard, I think you're doing solid. I think what you're doing is what I expect out of you. Minot's playing great. Somebody there. Anthony Simon, some of these shots need to go in. Some of these are wide open. This is what we brought you in for. This is what you're known for. You don't really do a lot else, admittedly. You're not here for your defense. You need a little more to show. We need to be a mid-range team. We need to be a mid-level team. This is not mid-level. This is bad. This is bottom 10. We're not bottom 10. Talent-wise, we're not bottom 10. I look at some of these rosters, and some of them are really good, but some of them are pretty bad, 1 through 7. I would take our roster, talent-wise alone, Brown, Derek White, Pritchard, Ada, who I think is a really solid center. He's starting to blossom a little more. Chris Boucher, Hauser, Anthony Simons, and Minot. That's 8. So I would take that 8. Am I forgetting somebody? No, I think that's the 8. So if that 8 alone is playing against another talented 8 roster, I think you're better than at least the bottom 10. For sure, 10 to 20 range, probably. You got to be better than this. You finished it off strong, though. You had some discrepancy at the end between you and Washington. That's what you need to do. And you did that, and I'm thankful. And then we moved on to Friday. It's so sad. It is so sad to see. Understandably, you're in a bad situation with Tatum getting injured, and they're really, I don't know what Brad Stevens did, but I don't know what this plan was. Orlando is possibly a better team than you this year. They played you really tough in the playoffs, and Caro is, I think, a top 10 player in this league. His skill set is ridiculous. I mean, he's such a tank. He's a huge body, but he plays so elegantly. He's the best player and he still does what he wants. It's very like Luka-esque when he was on the Mavericks. Like, you knew we're going after this guy and you still can't stop him. And Paolo gives me that same kind of response. They're a defensive powerhouse. They keep the score low, but they don't need a lot because they keep you low as well. It's tough to watch a team get outclassed. A team you've kind of bullied on the last 15, 20 years. Orlando's been an afterthought for so long, and they really do just have a solid lineup around them. I mean, they all played very well. Banchero only had 15 points, but they all felt important. Wagner was the big one. And I like Franz Wagner. He's another guy who it's like, God, he's just getting those shots he likes and then go in. They were shooting 50%. Anytime you're shooting 50%, it's going to be hard to beat that team. And I would say it wasn't our night because Brown scored 30. Pritchard scored 27. You got 2 guys nearing 30 points and everybody else did decent. Simons got 11 in the 4th to keep us in, and Derek got 16. Again, Derek White needs to score more than 20, I think, if we're going to have any chance of beating these tough teams. Minot scored 12. Kata had 5, but 8 rebounds. 8 rebounds from him, Minot, and Brown had 9. So that's a decent rebounding, but you still got rebounded by the Magic. That's you got 3 guys who are dominating for us, and then you've got everybody else. Garza, let's get rid of Garza. Let's cut him. Let's bring somebody else in. I'm sick of Luka Garza already. I didn't think I would hate a guy like this on my own team, but he is poor. Poor man. He deserves no money from the Celtics organization. Cut him, please. Kata put a lot of minutes 30 minutes and got 5 points out of it. Again, 8 rebounds, but 5 points. I think I want to see a little more out of Keita. If you're playing 30 minutes, 10 points, I think at least. I'm not expecting you to do a lot, but if you're cleaning those boards, you got to go back out. And maybe a little more from Simons early on, but that's more of when Mazzulla is putting him in. I'm not going to throw it all on him because of that. This team, Boucher didn't play, Shireman didn't play, Tillman didn't play. Tillman's another guy. He's not in my top 8, but this whole team is getting outworked by the Orlando Magic. And it's just tough to say. And the second game is on right now. The Friday game was the NBA Cup game, which I think is the more important game. But if you can steal this win tonight and go on the week 2-2, it's not a complete failure. I think you should have beat Utah. And I would have liked to see you go 3-1, but you didn't do that. Get a win tonight and go 2-2. And we'll get away from it saying it's a decent week. But you don't get a win tonight and you go 1-3. Not looking good, guys. Not looking good at all. And I mean, I'm just watching the game right now, and we're not even halfway through the first. Really, it's like 2010. Scal said it. We're not playing hard. We are not playing hard. I think this kind of goes back to every game this season of either it's a slow start or not. It doesn't look like we're playing hard out there. Why is that? What is the thing that's holding us back? Because I don't think it lost like Tatum or I know we lost Porzingis. I know we lost Holiday. Neither of those guys were like enforcers for us. I like Cornette. The guys that left, no matter what circumstances were, they weren't guys who were the energy of the team. Was Tatum that guy fully? No, I thought it was Brown and Derek White. And you still have those guys, and they're just slow starts. And sometimes it doesn't even look like you're playing basketball out there. And it's so infuriating. It really is. It's so infuriating. My buddy bet 4 different Celtics players to get some sort of 3-point shot count, 2, 3, Pritchard. Like Derek White at 4, told him that was a loss. Parlayed him. He's not winning any money. Not against a team like Orlando. They're so sound defensively, and they're so fluid when they're passing the ball around. It's ridiculous. Right now, Orlando, like a team like Utah, that's a team you can beat. Orlando might be a top 15 team, and I think you're under that 15. They are a good team. They are a great team, just referencing their jerseys. I love what they did with their jerseys this year with the pinstripes. Just want to give them a shout out. Bring back the old, classic modern look. Where do we go from here? What do we do differently? I can't speak on tonight's game that much because it's only the first quarter, and all I can say is pick it up. Pick it up, or we're walking away 1-3. And that doesn't look too good. Doesn't look good on the record. And we need to play a little harder. I want you guys to give me some thoughts. I want to hear from you. Have you been watching? Are you already sick of watching? Is it still football season and you don't care to watch yet? I just think that we can be better in this moment. I don't think we need to tank, but if we're just lackadaisically going through these games against teams that are admittedly not like Houston was a great team where I'm like, I don't think there's really any chance of winning with the height they have. Orlando may be a better team, but they're not unbeatable. We haven't really played a team that is unbeatable. So maybe Houston, but the losses we have are just can't happen. Haven't played Denver, haven't played OKC, haven't played the best of the East, which right now I don't know who that is. Milwaukee's playing great, but I wouldn't say they're such a powerhouse of a team. The Pacers not playing outstanding. I don't know if I've done a standings outlook yet, so maybe we should go to that next. We're an eighth of the season through, almost. Technically speaking, it's 82 games. We're about 10. Everybody's played 9, 10, 11 games. They're all around there. And where are we compared to the East, right? So let me read off the standings for you. Detroit at number 1. They've been playing good. I don't know really what their schedule's been like. Really, in the NBA, it's hard to tell, especially in the early parts of the season. That's why I usually don't do like anything to begin with in the first couple of months. I wait for like the first 25 games to go through to say like, okay, this is what the teams are shaping out to be. So I don't want to go too in depth here. Again, we're just reading the standings. Detroit at 7-2, number 1. Cleveland, who you played well at 7-3 at the number 2 spot. Again, that's a team I thought we had no chance of. And then we went out and played great team basketball and beat them and gave me hope. And it's looking like it shouldn't have. Bulls, shockingly, at 6-3. Sixers at 4, 6-3. Knicks at 5, 5-3. The Heat at 6, 6-4. The Bucks at 7, 6-4. Raptors at 8, 5-5. Hawks at 9, 5-5. Magic at 10, 4-5, with the Celtics at 11 at 4-6. And if by tonight you're at 4-7, I'm starting to get concerned. You've got the Hornets, the Nets, Pacers at 1-8, which I guess I'm not paying attention that much. I mean, that's a pretty bad start. Obviously, no Halliburton. Same thing with Tatum. ACL tear. That his was even worse. I mean, they should have won that finals matchup against OKC. But man, Pacers just tanked, and the Wizards at 1-9 at 15th. Worst team in the NBA, I think. And then we go through the West Coast. The West is like a little more understandable, I think, the way it's shaped up in the first couple of weeks. You know, you got Thunder at 1, Spurs at 2, Nuggets at 3, Lakers at 4, with no LeBron, with the 3 white boys going crazy in LA. Shout out those white boys. Slate Chase. Rockets at 5, Timberwolves at 6, Blazers surprise at 7. That's the only team where they're playing. Again, they're only 5-4. That's why I don't like to go too deep with this. Warriors at 8, Suns at 9, Grizzlies at 10. We'll get into a little bit about Ja Morant. We'll talk about him at the end here. Kings at 11, Jazz at 12, Clippers at 13, Mavs at 14. God, Cooper Flagg is doing nothing special out there. He's also not a primary ball handler on this team. You got Kyrie, AD, and Klay Thompson in that lineup. A little older for those guys, but just vets. And it's hard for him to get in, I would think, but I haven't seen anything. They're all calling for their GM's head. Nico is not doing good at the moment. Pelicans in last place at 15, 2-7. But yeah, Wizards definitely the worst in the league right now. I don't think anybody's outside of OKC and maybe the Spurs because of Wembanyama. No teams have really looked like, oh, they're finals bound. You know, that unquestionably nobody in the East looks like that. So that's kind of, you know, where you're at. You're not doing great. You could be doing better, but I don't think you can be doing now. And it's very sad. It's very sad. Do want to get into some stories, not so much about the Celtics, kind of what's going on in the NBA. Viewership is up with no LeBron these first 3-4 weeks. Viewership is up. What does that mean? Why are people interested in the NBA all of a sudden, especially coming off of last year where all they talked about towards the end were we are in a, I don't know if it was a viewership crisis or what it may be, but people were getting tired of the 3-point excessive league. And I think 3 points have dialed back. But that being said, I don't think they've gone dramatically down. Has the product all of a sudden gone better? I think what is happening is with LeBron out this first month, you are getting an NBA who is aiming to finally boost up some of their younger stars. They might have said it before, but LeBron was still just such a premier number one. And Wembanyama's taken a leap, which it's even worse that Tatum's not in this year because this would have been a perfect year to slap it on that he could be a face, and he's not doing it. Luka in LA playing great. Anthony Edwards, Timberwolves aren't doing great, but you know the Knicks as a whole, that's a team you can just look at and they can boost that. But viewership is up for the NBA. Are more people talking about the NBA? Are more people watching it? What is it for? What is the reasoning? I don't have a good answer. We're not deep enough into it that I can point out and say, like, this game of basketball is crazy. And I really haven't an opportunity to watch other NBA games, other teams. But viewership is up. That is something to look at. Is the product getting better or is the marketing getting better? Because you have the introduction of Amazon as a national game provider, and NBC is back after their 30, 40-year hiatus, whatever it was, 30 years. They are back. And I can tell you wholeheartedly I think I've only watched maybe 2 games on each of them, and the Amazon games were Celtics games, 100 times better than what ESPN has been providing us over the last 10 years. Amazon in particular, people get mad that Amazon is allowed to nationally televise those Thursday night football games, and they were even upset about this basketball contract. Hands up to Amazon. They do a fantastic job. Their graphic design team does a fantastic job. Their play-by-play announcers do a great job. Their halftime reporters do a great job. That is a great product. When I'm watching any game on Amazon, not to be a capitalist schlep, but they do a fantastic job for the viewers. It feels like they care about the product. They are listening to what the fans have been looking for. ESPN is a stubborn company run by Disney. They do it their way, have not changed much. They hate when they do change. They felt the need they had to add in Pat McAfee for their new weekday shows, and every step of the way he's done something. I've only heard complaints from ESPN Corporation. They are super stubborn as a company, and basketball, I think, which is one of their biggest viewership drivers, only has gotten complaints in the last 3 or 4 years from the crew that they keep on, from Stephen A being their biggest mouthpiece. It's just been a bad product. NBC and Amazon have stepped up and answered that call to fill what viewers have been looking for, which is fun, entertaining basketball, which is propping up everybody that deserves it, not just the guys that you know that you want to know that they want you to know. Luka had a great game. Okay, well, Luka had a great game, but they got 2 other guys. They got Austin Reeves and they got that other white dude, whatever his name is. They're starting to have some injury troubles. Their depth really isn't there, but what you saw, shockingly, is Bronny James come in for a little bit of time against the Hawks and played decent. He's looking to become a rotational player, which I think is the extent of what he can be. I think he can get to that. My biggest issue of all this is there's probably so many guys who can get to that if they are given the resources he is given. And just because he's LeBron's son, he got drafted. He shouldn't have been drafted. He should have been a G League player for a year. He should have stayed in college for another year or two. I think that would have helped him the most. And he didn't do that. And he took this bad route that everybody's going to look at and question. And hopefully he does, at least if he can become a rotational player, that's a legitimate rotational player, I'll give him his flower. There's items like that you see. The biggest thing that's happened in the last week or two, I think, is the Ja Morant issues in Memphis. Obviously, he's had some issues 2 years ago with getting suspended, getting injured as much as he has, but also getting suspended for gun issues and then also assault issues. The guy who came out of Marquette was such a well put together guy. I don't know, maybe that was a farce coming out, but I just remember him being such a well-mannered guy. Maybe his time living in Memphis has made him more irrational, but you are an NBA player, man. You are the guy on your team. You guys always have decent teams. Don't be trash talking coaches the way you are. With your track record, even if you're right, it's really not going to go your way. I keep seeing things that he might be traded, and then we might be traded the Celtics, which I don't think would happen, but you don't have any room for forgiveness from anybody. I wish you did, but you don't because of the actions you've taken in the past couple of years. So I think you have to kind of accept that as a person and say, and build it back. I'm not saying it's completely done, but at the moment, you can't be acting irrationally like you are and then blaming coaches, saying coaches don't want to play me. You're the best player on the team. Why wouldn't they want to play you? I know the coaching situation is odd. Beginning of the season, weird stuff happens. Take your licks, get over it. If they do want to trade you, I would love to have Ja Morant, even with all the issues. But it's something to keep a note on. I think they are tiring of him a little bit in Memphis, but they're also kind of stuck in that place of he's the only thing they got. And I think if they got rid of him, a lot of people would be upset in the Memphis area. So one thing to look at for Ja Morant. Look out for him for the rest of the season and see what happens there. Obviously, haven't heard any additional things on the gambling situation. It actually has spread to baseball. Evidently, there are 2 pitchers on the Guardians that are getting arrested for throwing games. So I don't think it's over, but maybe the NBA is being looked away because Adam Silver had to go in front of the government and have a conversation. And, there's a bunch of committees looking at it, and the NBA's, because they took the biggest hit in the beginning, they're kind of the forefront of all that stuff. So it's something that could have an overarching effect on the season, but for now, nothing new. Nothing new. And those are kind of the biggest plot lines outside of the Celtics and how the NBA is going. Weird start to a season. No LeBron. There's no, they can talk about OKC. They can talk about Wemby, but there seems to be a hole because of how much effort they were pushing that LeBron, Lakers, there's no Celtics, so that's kind of hard too. And they have these kind of off-market teams that are really good with OKC, and it was Indiana last year, and, when Milwaukee's good, and Detroit's number 1, and Detroit maybe can be pushed a little more, but right now I think the NBA is having a tough time pushing everything they need to. Feels like there's a little bit of hole, but those national games are making up for it with the inclusion of NBC and Amazon. So that's a good thing. That's a highlight. All these things affect the viewership, and more close games, more unknowns on who's good, who's worse, what player can do what. Bronny going to play? Is Ja Morant going to play? All those things kind of add into it on how the viewership grows. Starts, I was talking about with the Celtics. I think it's more of a fun watch that you don't know what's going to happen every night than if you did know what's going to happen. And that's kind of showing across the NBA. Nobody really knows what's going to go on. Nobody really knows who's going to be the best, who's going to be the MVP. And I think that gets more people wanting to watch and wanting to be a part of it. So that's kind of my fresh outlook on the NBA at the moment, an eighth of the way through the season. I asked what you guys wanted to hear about. What were some questions? So we're going to get a little bit into those. Quick outlook on the week. You've got, where am I looking at my schedule? You've got the Sixers on Tuesday. It's like the third time we played the Sixers in 2 weeks. It's crazy. Grizzlies on Wednesday. That's a team I think you can beat. Just the way they're extremely dysfunctional right now. You should beat that team. So that's Sixers you should beat. Memphis you should beat. Clippers, kind of having a crappy start to the year. That's a Sunday game. That's a Sunday afternoon game. That's kind of an easy week for you. I mean, Sixers, Memphis, and Clippers, get a little back here. Get a little back on your groove. Go 3-0. Those are all three teams you can beat. At the very least, you shouldn't be getting waxed by any of those teams. I don't think Clippers are going to show you anything. Memphis is good defensively, and you can beat the Sixers. So yeah, that is a good solid week to get back on track. So go 3-0 if you can. First question is, how concerned should we be about Boston's rebounding and the 3-point blows? So that's two different questions. How concerned should we be about the rebounding? Very. Rebounding is something going into the season I just thought wow, this is not going to be good, and it's almost worse. I think we need somebody. It's not going to take just guys stepping up and going, we're going to rebound now. I don't think that'd be cool if they did that. They definitely need to do that, but I think we're going to need an additional guy in there to alleviate some of our problems. Just another forward or center that can just be a monster on the paint, because right now, just the guys we have, I don't see it getting any better, even with a slight uptick from any of them. The 3 points I'm not as concerned about. I do think Derek White's going to get his clip going. I think Simons is going to become a little more consistent. I think he's doing well in this Orlando game right now. Pritchard's doing well. Brown's outside that 0-9 actually shooting pretty well for the 3-point. So the woes, I don't think is going to be as much of an issue. I think we're going to be okay. Do I have concerns with blowing leads? This is something that just goes back to 2020, 2021. We are just sick, cursed, or something of that sort, of just putting ourselves in a position where the game should be a closed book and we just let teams get back into it. And it's such a tough watch. It is such a tough watch. I mean, we need to be more consistent throughout the entire game. We got to stop letting teams back in like this. It is so difficult when you play good in the first half and you start blowing it towards the end. You have shown through 3 quarters you can play with the team, and then all of a sudden you stop playing with them. And what is that? So I would say that's more of a concern, just like rebounding is. Why are we blowing leads the way we are blowing leads? It shouldn't happen like this. This is a team that is conditioned. Joe Mazzulla always comes across as a deliberate coach who is very, very keyed in on his players. That is something you cannot happen. That comes from coaching. I don't even think that's talent-wise. That is coaching. That's not calling timeouts when he should. That's leaving your guys out to dry when things start to go awry. Anyway, yeah, that is something that needs to be addressed now before we get deeper into the season. And then do you think we're trending in the right direction? It's hard to say. And I know that's not the answer anybody's looking for, but it really is hard to say. I would have thought if we went 3-1 this week, we were trending in the right direction. I think 2-2 is scraping by. And 1-3 is bad. Obviously, we're going back down. I mentioned in week 1, the first month is an extension of preseason basketball for us. I think we're starting to hit the line of, you're 10 games in. We can't be playing preseason basketball anymore. The lineup should be showing themselves. And, I say that, but I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think the next 10 are probably going to go similar, where we're trying things out. We still need to find an identity. We need to clean up some of the garbage we brought in from having a bunch of brand new players playing together. So are we trending in the right direction? My strong answer is no. I don't think we're there yet to even trend. I think it's going to be a bumpy road for the next 10 games at the very least. And I think towards the end of December into the new year, post-Christmas is always like that time where people aren't as watching the NFL as much and the regular season basketball starts to take over and the storylines start to get pushed to the top a little more. I think we're going to kind of see towards then what kind of team we really are. I think until then, you just got to hold out hope. And again, it's a tough watch for all of us, but it's something to watch. It's something that's there. If you care about this team as much as I do, they still have something to offer for everybody. And there's no point in giving up now. The season's so long, and when the cold, dark months set in, and there's no more holidays, and it's January and February, and there's nothing going on, and you don't know what to do with yourself, the Boston Celtics are there. They're there to bring you something. And if we give up on them now, they're not going to be for us. They're not going to be there for us in February. And I don't want that, and you don't want that, and you want them there with you. And that's where I'm going to leave it this week. Hopefully, this Orlando game plays out the way I would like. Hopefully, we can get a 2 week. Right now, during the second quarter, it's 46-37. So I don't know what happened in the second quarter. I've been talking to you guys, but what I heard was Simon's got 17 points in a row. If that is true, trending in the right direction, he is. But it is a good way to wrap it up. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you guys always listening. I want to hear some of your takes. I want to hear some questions. If you're interested in guesting on the podcast, I am looking for guests. I'm looking for weekly guests to add in their input. I want to hear other voices. I want to see you on the screen with me, and I want to put you guys out there to blast like the rest of everybody else that watches. All 10 people that watch this thing. So, thanks again. That's the Green Line Breakdown. Have a good week, everybody. Go Celtics.